Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, I cannot start today my talk without congratulating from here our Moldovan friends for their big success, which is a victory for them and for Maya Sandu personally, and I want to congratulate her. But it's also a victory for Europe, for democracy, and for us Georgians. It's a signal for hope and for remaining steady in our fight to get back to the same European path which we had started together, Ukraine, Moldova, and Georgia. And it's no coincidence that Russia's attacks, aggressions, in different manners were directed to those three countries, to those three associated countries. So we are talking today about a very actual issue, which is the enlargement of the European Union. And the main message probably that I will try to pass on is that enlargement is certainly a question of political choice for the European Union members. It's a question of political choice for the countries that want to adhere and to integrate. But it's a geopolitical imperative for both Europe, Europeans, and for us around, for those that consider that their past and their future is within the European Union. And that imperative is today's geopolitical imperative, because the challenges that democracies are facing, the challenges that these democratic systems are going to be confronted are global, are increasing every day. Authoritarianism is everywhere, outside and sometimes inside the European Union, and it's only together and with more and more strengths that the European Union can address these challenges. EU enlargement is not just about integrating new members. It is about defending the European model, a model of democracy, of self-determination, and the unique model of that type of multilateral organization that has been willingly chosen by all the countries that form the European Union today or that will form the European Union of tomorrow. A stronger Europe depends on the enlargement, but on the enlargement probably with teeth. An enlargement that includes a new security and defense policy, an enlargement that includes economic strengths, connectivity with neighbors, partners, and regions that are vital to the future. In that sense, the Black Sea is a vital part of the enlargement. And it's no coincidence that Russia, which maybe has understood that earlier, because it was part of its old Soviet, post-Soviet space or pre-Soviet space, and that's the Black Sea, which is now a strategic region for European Union, for the NATO, which has designed a new strategy for the Black Sea security, and the European Union also. So it's no coincidence that Moscow has targeted all the countries that are vital for these strategies of the Black Sea for cooperation, connectivity, and security. Georgia, Romania, Moldova, Ukraine, of course, the main country on the northern part of the Black Sea. So that is a strategy, and clearly we do not see yet, we hear talking about, but we do not see yet the contours of a real European or NATO strategy for the Black Sea to counter, to prevent what are the designs of Russia in that region. The main infrastructural projects that are existing around the Black Sea in the European Union for the future to connect with not only the Caucasus but Central Asia, that all depends on a real strategy for what should be the relationship between this region of the Black Sea and the Caucasus and the European Union. How does the European Union defend this region? How does it become a frontier that is really secured and one that can be made as a post for cooperation? That is a question for the European Union. We, on our part, are doing, when I say we, it's clearly not today's Georgian authorities, but it's the vast majority of the Georgian people to stay on board, to continue fighting for what is the European future and for the values that constitute the European future. But one cannot fight alone. And what the recent past has shown us is that Russia, and we've seen it that very clearly, although it was tested last year in Georgia and was not seen properly by the outside world, we have seen that in Moldova these days, what are the new instruments with which Russia is targeting those countries? Not only military aggression, which has not paid for Russia in Ukraine. 3.5 years after, Russia is not winning the war. It might have been a dramatic night and nights after nights, but the last one especially, probably as an answer to the victory that Russia did not get in Moldova and to this humiliating defeat. But Russia is targeting these countries with now very many instruments, and we've seen the variety of those instruments. We have seen it very clearly in Georgia, we've seen it in Moldova, in a different way in Romania. So Russia is now using something that it had lost the capacity to use, which is the soft power of propaganda, cyber attacks, using different groups, subversive groups, using democratic instruments against democracies, like elections, to try to overcome and to win back what it considers as being strategic places for its own influence for the future of Russian imperialist power. Let's call it what it is and what it has always been. So in response, there should be a European policy. There should be a European policy that strengthens clearly its defense and its security, because there is no enlargement that in today's world that can only be with economic means, which was the initial, original view of the European Union, strategic view of the European Union. Today, it's clear, and for some it was clearer earlier, it has to be a strong enlargement, a strong policy of the European Union. But it also should be a new soft power policy. European Union should be able not only to watch what happens in the Georgian elections, what happens in the Moldovan elections, and how they respectively manage to defend themselves, or in our case, not be able to defend ourselves against the huge manipulation of elections. But the European Union should be able to intervene, to help, to support, to prevent, to know and to analyze. And it's very clear that the old ways are no longer sufficient. The old classical observation missions that we have seen all over the past elections are not able to decipher the sabotage, let's call it that Russia is able to implement in the neighboring countries that it knows too well, and it has many capabilities to influence. Money is the main instrument, but not only money. Propaganda, I mentioned it, disinformation, fake news, and somehow Russia today is in a way better at those things, maybe because the head of Russia is an old, or not old, they're always active KGB man. So he knows this psychological warfare and is using it. And for us outside, which are looking at what the European Union, this huge power, could do, we have the impression that the European Union is not using all its capacities, is passive, is waiting for us to overcome these challenges or not to overcome. And in the case of Georgia, we were not able to overcome because I, as a president, did not have the executive powers to use the services, the information, to oblige and to make it possible for the diaspora to vote, and all of the things that, and I'm very glad that that was the case, that Maya Sandu could use to defend the votes of the Moldovan people. But when that is the case, then you expect for 1 year the European Union to be saying its word. If not being able to act, at least it should be saying what's happening, qualifying what's happening, showing that this is not acceptable for the European Union. There has not been a clear voice as a collective voice of the European Union on seeing what, and I a little bit disagree with President Zelensky, who said that Georgia was lost to Russia. He overdid it a little bit because I think that we are still not lost. We are still fighting. We are still on the streets. I'm on the streets. I'm in the country, and I continue to be there. But we need more support, more attention, more active attention to what is happening, and the European Union should use all the capacity that it has, as it's using to support Ukraine militarily, and should do more. It should do more in our case too, to support us politically, and that we can see that the people on the street can see that while we're waiting for the future and for the enlargement, that the European Union is present, and if that means that the European Union has to come to terms with its internal problems and internal decision-making, well, that's something that all of us, we expect that the European Union should be able to do, and we believe in that, and we believe in our common European future. Thank you very much.